Hello and welcome to Bud's RPG Review, where I give my thoughts on role-playing games, card games and board games. Today's review is 1995's Night Below, an Underdark campaign for AD&D 2nd edition by TSR. This is the first in a three-part series where I will cover Book 1, The Evils of Haranshire, Book 2, Perils of the Underdark, and Book 3, The Sunless Sea. Okay, first a bit of history. Often considered one of the best campaigns ever written, Night Below was the last product made for TSR by industry and Greyhawk stalwart, the late Carl Sargent, and is designed to take characters from the humble beginnings of level 1 right through to level 10 and beyond. It was originally produced as this box set here, but has since become available as a print-on-demand from Drive-Thru-RPG. Interestingly, to current day, it has never been reimagined for any other edition of D&D. Right, to the cover. Here we have a collection of some of the horrors contained in the Night Below campaign by Jeff Easley, which is by his normally excellent standards a bit rough. It is worth pointing out that a notable representative of a quite popular Underdark race is missing. Can you spot it? To the inside. There will be spoilers from this point on, so stop watching now if you intend to play this. The box set has 3 64-page books, 16 player handout sheets, 8 cards that act as a reference for the DM, 3 double-sided colour maps with all the important locations on one side and tactical battle mats on the other, and an 8-page booklet of new monsters. Book 1 is designed to take the players from levels 1 to 5, and books 2 and 3 up to 10th and above. First up is Book 1, The Evils of Haranshire. The cover is, perhaps disappointingly, a piece of reused art from the D&D adventure The Quest for the Silver Sword. Unfortunately, this was a fairly typical practice of TSR at the time. To the inside. First up, we're greeted with a map of the Haranshire area, which has been designed so that it could easily fit into Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk or Mystara, though maybe not Dragonlance given the particular peculiarities of that setting. The adventure begins with Welcome to the Grand Dungeon, which gives a brief overview of what you can come to expect in the campaign, and a list of everything contained in the box set, including what they are used for. We then have a synopsis of the campaign. The main villain of the piece are the powerful yet mostly mysterious creatures of the Underdark known as the Aboleth Savants. Ever hungry for power, they're constructing a great magical artifact called the Tower of Domination that will allow them to extend their domination power for hundreds of miles, giving them control over surface dwellers without any risk to themselves. To create this artifact, they're sacrificing the lives of many magic-using creatures of the kinds they intend to dominate. They have surface agents kidnapping wizards and priests and bringing them to their city, Great Shaboath, but are also throwing off the scent by having non-spellcasters kidnapped too, although generally those who have underground or construction skills to be used as slave labour. Many of these surface agents are actually in turn dominated by the Aboleth through potions that they have created. Other races have been drawn into this plan. The insane Darrow are working with the Aboleth through a renegade called the Lacanard, who is intent on having his people subjugated by the Aboleth. Some Darrow clans are aware of this and are fighting a guerrilla warfare campaign against the Aboleth. Other Darrow are not aware of this and are allied with the Aboleth through a shared hatred of the surface dwellers. The Illithids, or Mind Flayers, are well aware of what the Aboleth are doing and are also divided in their beliefs. The largest factions agree with what they're doing, believing that the domination of the surface races will mean lots of food. Unfortunately, they are also under the mistaken belief that their innate magical resistance will protect them from the artifact, and these Illithids act as messengers for the Aboleth. A minority amongst them believe that the Aboleth are very dangerous, and that they will in turn fall under their sway. This group have made contingencies for destroying the tower as it needs completion. The Sverfneblin, or Deep Gnomes, are aware that some force in the Underdark is up to something that is very, very bad, but they're unable to pinpoint what it is. These kindly Deep Dwellers can be valuable allies to the players. The Kur Tower are firmly allied with the Aboleth, and their Underdark fortress, the City of the Glass Pool, protects the entrance to the Great Cavern of the Sunless Sea. They are allied with the Darrow Illithids and an Underdark freshwater variant of the confusingly named Ixixacatil, the Ixan. Demons, or as they were known in AD&D 2nd edition, the Tenari, are embroiled in affairs as they are planning an attack on Great Shaboath, and the Devils, or as they were known, Bartezu, are negotiating with the Aboleth. Most enigmatic are the new race introduced in this set, the Roxier Elves. This mysterious race of Underdark Elves are a splinter clan that fled from the surface world when Coronel Erethian defeated Lolth in the time of myth. They know nothing of other elves except the Drow. The Roxiers can be an invaluable ally in the Underdark. We have various notes on how the campaign should unfold. Things like level progression are covered, and the writers have advised that the optional training rules should be used as a sink for the riches the players will find during the course of the campaign. The adventure begins with the players at level 1 or 2 on their way, for whatever reason the DM decides, to the village of Thurmaster to deliver a box of spell components to the resident wizard, Tower, when they're ambushed. The bandits are actually trying to subdue wizards and priests, not kill them. If they are defeated, then this leads them onto the village of Millbourne. Here the players are introduced to a number of key characters, the ranger Garald and the priest Semheis, and a dwarf warrior, Old Grizzler, with these providing some of the training opportunities that the campaign suggests using. It's here that the players are given the adventure hook that lasts for the entire campaign. A local young wizard, Jeleneth, has vanished, and they are asked by Andron, her suitor, to look for her. There are a variety of things to do in Millbourne, and this leads the players on to Thurmaster. Thurmaster is a small village with around 100 residents, and this is where they need to deliver the spell components to Tower, the resident wizard. Tower, upon finding out of the disappearance of Jeleneth, urges the players to speak to the ranger Quipper to see if he has seen her. The players then meet Quipper and get dragged into a side quest where they join a druid called Olian in finding a local boy who has just discovered he is a werebear and has been driven into the woods in shock. If asked, neither Quipper or Olian have seen Jeleneth. The players eventually find the boy and battle some orcs who have a strange shield design that prompts further investigation. Quipper advises the players to seek Garald in Millbourne. Upon arriving back in Millbourne, if they find Garald, he will send a note to another ranger, Shiraz, stating that if Jeleneth is anywhere in western Haranshire, Shiraz will know. The players, potentially at a loss for further work, are approached by Darius Carman, the local landowner, who asks the players to investigate a place in the region called the New Mire. The local Patchwork Hills are slowly turning into swampland, and Carmen, suspecting evil magic, sends the characters to scout the area and report back their findings. When the players arrive there, they come across a primitive goblin tribe who have a shaman who is in possession of a ring of water elemental command that is slightly damaged and slowly leaking into the local area, creating the mire. There are a few ways the players can approach this, ranging from outright slaughter of the goblins to maybe even cutting a deal with them. Another solution that presents itself is relocating the goblins to the local lake Eelhold. This helps all parties as the goblins can live in peace and the ring will leak into the lake, causing no further problems. While staying in Millbourne, the players are approached by a merchant who offers them a guard duty job. This leads to a further encounter where the players are again ambushed by kidnappers and seems to indicate that the players are known and being hunted. A further encounter occurs when the players return to Thurmaster. The local Lord Palfrey summons them and asks them to venture onto Howler's Moor, named so after the legend of a black dog that is sent to haunt the area. He needs them to escort some pilgrims back to his keep. Needless to say, the players find the pilgrims dead, killed by death dogs, and it provides a hard encounter that gives more clues as to what's going on here, with the first mention of the red-headed man. This will be important later on. The next chapter is a Gazetteer of Harrington. It discusses the local rangers and druids and includes the stats for a powerful local ranger called Lafaya. It then details all of the local places of interest. This includes the aforementioned Eelhold, where Shiraz the Ranger lives, the Patchwork Hills, which contains an Aarakocra colony trying to establish itself, the Great Rock Dale, in which the players can find and retrieve a powerful magical item called the Rose Stone, the Gleaming Glade, where the players can find some powerful magic items, and the Shrieking Mire, where the players can encounter in Zeldrin, an old green dragon that resides there. Most of these locations have interesting side quests designed to boost the player's level before the end of the book. The next important quest that they face is that of Broken Spire Keep. By finding the various clues scattered around the adventure, the path eventually leads here. Situated deep within the Thornwood, the keep was originally built and owned by the Palfrey family and was abandoned after the residents were all found brutally murdered. Currently the keep is being used as a base by kidnappers. The players need to fight their way through the keep, where they hopefully end up fighting Ranchafus, a priest of the god of death of whichever world you choose to run the campaign in. Here the players can discover the potions of domination that the Aboleth used to subjugate their servants, and also find entrances to the Garlstone mines which leads to the Underdark. When the players eventually investigate the mine, they fight various Underdark creatures until they eventually come upon the Grand Cavern, where they could do battle with an evil group of kidnappers led by the red-headed man, a warrior called Ramor. The adventurers may have a tough battle here, which should culminate in them finding some powerful magic items, and they will eventually come across a group of orcs from the Bloodskull tribe. Should they succeed in overcoming the orcs by either force or parley, they eventually come upon a dwarf prisoner called Snagger. Snagger is a friendly soul who remembers Jeleneth if asked. Finally, the players will discover a passageway sloping downward which leads into the Underdark. As they take their first steps down this, a group of Sverfnebelin appear to melt out of the rocks surrounding the players. A female deep dwarf steps forward and says, "I think we should have a little talk about what you're planning to do, don't you?" And thus ends Book 1. Okay, that concludes Part 1 of Night Below. Part 2 in this series will be a breakdown of the second book in the campaign, Perils of the Underdark.